Just another day, just another day. We were born to shake fabrics of nations, born to run, born to write, and being creative. It's just in trial, I know we can face this. What good's on pearl without tribulation? Just one foot in front of the other. We take a step, then another. Inside our minds they start to unclutter, like we're seeing clear for the first time. One foot in front of the other. We make a day, then another. Inside our minds they start to unclutter, like we're seeing clear for the first time. This discomfort's deep as the ocean, but we're still on our way. We're still on our way. Troubled waters, I'm tossing, I'm turning. But come on, one more day, just another day. We weren't born to be bold, being courageous. Born from freedom, for strength, born from greatness. It's just a hurdle, we'll hop it, we'll break it. I'm blessed a man who through trials takes patience. One foot in front of the other. We take a step, then another. Inside our minds they start to unclutter, as we're seeing clear for the first time. One foot in front of the other. We make a year, then another. Inside our minds they start to unclutter, like we're seeing clear for the first time.
My hair is not wanting to. Not sure if I'm supposed to start talking yet or not. I know we were having some technical difficulties earlier, so I don't know if anyone is listening yet. Okay, so until Shanae figures it out, my name is Sarah, and I'm a grateful recovering drug addict. I've been sober since January 30th of 2018, so a little over 6 years. My drug of choice is meth mainly, although, I did experiment with a lot of other different kinds of drugs, it really didn't matter, but meth was the one that really got a hold of me. My cycle of addiction is pretty much in and out of jail, treatment, halfway houses, prison, over and over again. I do really well in the institution, and then I get out, get on my feet, and then I burn it to the ground. Everything that I just rebuilt, I lose. I give away. I know the consequences, but it doesn't matter. I've done that, proved that to myself over and over again. Not only did I do it to myself, but my kids, I have 3 kids, Olivia, Noah, and Wyatt, that I lost during my addiction. I had to sign my rights over because they were in and out of foster homes and with family. Every time that I would get locked up, I was the only one there to help to take care of them. And in the end, I felt myself, falling off the wagon again. And ultimately, I made that decision out of love for the kids. I didn't want to put them through that again. So, I signed my rights over, and then I fell off the face of the world for probably 4 or 5 years. And then by the grace of God, I'm sober today. How it was for me growing up. I'm from Ohio. That's where I was born and raised. And it was just me, my mom, and my sister and my grandma for the longest time. My sister's 8 years younger than me, but we were brought up in a good family. We were, taught manners and respect. We didn't have, well, I didn't have a lot of, I wasn't neglected or abused. I didn't have a lot of childhood trauma. My sister kind of got when my mom started to use drugs after my grandma died, she kind of was exposed to that, but I wasn't exposed to any of that. We were really poor growing up. We didn't have a car for most of the time. Off and on we would get a car, but it would break down, and then we wouldn't have one for a while. Sometimes our lights or water would get shut off. My mom, she was a really hard worker, but it just, I don't know. So my dad, he wasn't around either for my whole childhood. I remember meeting him probably maybe 10 times from the time, I can't remember, from when I was born to when I was 18. I probably only met him a handful of times. And, I didn't have a relationship with him then. And then, when I started using, I remember reaching out to him for money and stuff. And it was bad. And we didn't have a relationship until I got sober, which, was really beautiful and wonderful for the time we had. So like I said, growing up, we were really poor. I remember having to, go to school, and we didn't have any nice clothes, and I just had hand-me-downs, and I was overweight too. I was just teased and bullied a lot. My, I don't know, my whole life I'd been overweight and bullied, and my self-esteem wasn't good. Plus, we didn't have any money, and I wasn't like the other kids, and I knew I was different. So in high school, I kind of started to hang out with the wrong crowd. I started hanging out with the kids and the kind of the potheads and the emo kids. That's where I felt like I kind of fit in with the misfits. And even I was a good kid in high school too, but I just kind of gravitated towards that crowd. I did graduate, but my whole senior year, it was a lot of drinking and smoking weed. And I had plans on going to college after high school, but that didn't work out either. I'd met my my kid's dad at the time, while we were drinking and partying. And I thought that was just kind of like the thing you do, was to have fun, was to drink and go to these parties out in the woods and, just have a good time and music. And it was fun for a while until it wasn't. And we started experimenting with other drugs like cocaine, ecstasy pills. It was just what everyone else was doing. And I felt accepted by that crowd. So that's what I did too. Out of high school, right away, I think I was 19 and I ended up pregnant with my daughter, Olivia. This was kind of before I knew that Jacob, which is my kid's dad, I knew that he was an addict or an alcoholic. And, I thought he could stop whenever he wanted, because I did. When I got pregnant, I stopped, and, it wasn't an issue. And then he kept going. And, by that time my mom was using too. And I remember him saying, if you want me to get off the drugs, we have to move to Minnesota. And I'll get off the drugs. My dad will let us stay at his house, and I'll get a job, and, we'll start fresh. And, I didn't really understand addiction or, the reasons behind it, why he couldn't quit. And I was like, okay, well, we'll try that. So we ended up moving to Minnesota, and, just like he said, we moved in with his dad and his dad's girlfriend. We lived in their basement for a while. He got a job and got on his feet, and hi.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. My phone died and my computer is like not letting me do anything.
I just started telling my story.
It's like completely frozen up. Okay, I'll let you continue.
Okay, so I moved to Minnesota in 2008, and we had moved in with Jacob's dad. That's the kids' grandpa. I was still sober. I wasn't addicted yet. He was doing good and working, and I was working, and then I ended up getting pregnant again, and just slowly I could see Jacob starting to do the same things that he was doing when we were in Ohio. It was like drinking, using, getting pills, bringing pills home, and like, let's try these. These are fun. And I'm like, okay. I didn't use while I was pregnant with my second child either. It wasn't until after I had him that I started to use like Adderall. That was my first kind of like, man, this is what I've been missing. This makes me feel happy and confident, and I have energy, and I can do everything. I could take care of the kids and go to work. And it was just like, this is what I've been looking for. And, when we moved out of Jacob's dad's house and got a place of our own, like, I still was doing Adderall, and like, Jacob was off doing his thing and I was doing my thing, and like, he was still living with me, and like, we were just fighting all the time. And, I ended up getting pregnant again. It's our third kid. And, he was in prison for most of the pregnancy. So I was sober in the beginning, but, with my third son, I couldn't stop using Adderall. I hadn't done like any hard drugs, but I was abusing Adderall. And, that's when my addiction really, like, I knew I was an addict. Like, I knew I needed help, and I couldn't stop. And I didn't really want to either, which is terrible to say now, but it's true. After Wyatt, my third son, was born, he was normal, like healthy, luckily. But later on in life, he did show signs of like autism and stuff. And that's been kind of hard to deal with knowing that, but it's just the way it happened.
You keep talking. My stupid phone is going to die again.
Okay.
Hang on.
Just kind of all over the place. I didn't know what to expect here, but so after Wyatt was born, me and Jacob had already broken up. Like we had been, hadn't been really a couple for years, but we stuck together, and I let him treat me certain ways, and like I still wanted to hold on to the idea that he loved me and we were gonna be okay and live happily ever after, like I was promised. And I held on to that for a long time and put up with a lot of emotional abuse, and like we were both kind of physical sometimes with each other. Like I just remember fighting with him in front of the kids, and it was just a really bad time. And after I had my son Wyatt, he went to prison again and was gone, and that's kind of how I got him out of the house and was like, okay, like I'm on my own now. It's just me and the kids. And all the Jacob's friends kept coming around still with their, they looking for Jacob, and I'm like, well, he's not here, he's in prison. But they're like, well, we got some beer or we got some pills, you mind if we come in? And I was like, sure. Like I was lonely, I didn't have friends, and those are the kind of people that I let hang out with us or with me. And so like we were living in public housing, and it's a small community, and like I know I would know who had what, and those were my friends, so I thought, until I got in trouble. I stole somebody's purse out of the HRA building when I dropped my kids off at daycare because I was trying to get high, trying to find money. I didn't have a job. I was living on welfare, and that was how I supported my habit, was stealing. And I got caught, and it was my first time ever getting in trouble. But I didn't know what to do. I went to my neighbor's house, and she's like, oh, you can come in. And then like the cops came. It was just bad. And eventually I got charged with a felony theft. And so I did all the stuff that they told me to do. Like I went to do the pre-sentence investigations and stuff, and I lied and made it sound like I was just a victim of Jacob, but really it was my own doing. And I think they kind of knew, but they put me on probation, and it didn't really have any repercussions really until I started failing my UAs, and they had sent me to jail for the first time. And like my kids had to go to a shelter, and I was in jail, and they're like, well, if you plead to this felony, you can get out of jail today. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good, because my kids are in the shelter, so I'll get out today. And I didn't know anything about the system, but I wish I wouldn't have done that. It probably could have got dropped, but that is the way it was supposed to happen. I never really did good at probation. I've been in trouble a lot. I've been to prison twice. This last time, I was always homeless. I was couch hopping. Like I said, I lost my kids throughout my addiction. I was just, I don't know. It was a really bad for a really long time, but I thought that that's how I was going to live forever. I thought it was destined to die an addict and, or be in prison forever. Even though my charges are mostly like theft charges or petty misdemeanors. The last run I had before I went to prison, I probably went to jail like 6 times that year. And I was, like I said, I was homeless. I was just so sick of like getting out and going back to the same thing. And, I had already lost my kids like 5 years before that. So like the only thing holding me back was me. I had a warrant. I always had warrants, but they finally picked me up on it, and it was just such a relief. I was homeless in Brainerd, and I don't know, I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, but it was right for me. And when I got arrested, I just kind of like relieved, like, because I'd been trying to turn myself in for months, because I was sick of it. Sick of being treated the way I was treated where I was living, but I was also being a mooch, and it was cold outside. I was getting kicked out every other day, and no job, no nothing. Yeah, I knew that I was probably going to execute my sentence to Shakopee when I got picked up, just because I had been to jail so many times that year. It sucks, and unfortunately, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but the women's prison in Minnesota is a lot nicer than jail, and more bearable. But I knew I had to be completely removed from my situation, because every time I would get out, I did go to treatment a few times that year, and I ran from one, and I completed another one, and then I just went right back to it. I needed to be completely removed. And the only way I knew was to execute my sentence. And it wasn't very long. It was 5.5 months. And I already had a plan. Once I got to Shakopee, I immediately started trying to plan for my release. And I knew I wanted to go to Lake Place, which is a treatment up in Bovey. It's on a piece of land on a lake, and it used to be co-ed, but now it's just a men's facility. I had already been to Lake Place once before, and I knew it was like a long-term kind of deal, and I knew there was good people. There was volleyball net, which I love, so I was like, I'm gonna go to Lake Place, and I'm going to stay there as long as I can. And, after I get done with that and graduate, I'm going to go to Pear Lake, which is basically another treatment in Grand Rapids. And just, that's where I started to like rebuild my life and pick up all the pieces and the wreckage of my past. Like, I didn't have a license. I hadn't had a license for years, but it wasn't because of a DUI or anything. It was just because I lost it and I never got it back. And I never had a Minnesota license. Actually, it was an Ohio one, but that's where I got the job. I got my license, and like I started to hang out with the people that I met at Lake Place, because they have a wonderful thing where Friday nights alumni can come up and share their experience, strength, and hope with you on Fridays. And they have an NA meeting and a CODA meeting, and like that was something I missed before, was like the fellowship of the whole deal. Like I had been through Lake Place once before, but they didn't have that alumni deal when I was there.
I don't think the sobriety community at that time when you first went, I honestly don't think that it was at the place that it was when you came back. It got a lot stronger when you came around, actually.
Yeah, I had never experienced anything like that. The people that were coming up it was attractive what they had. Like, sure, they had the cars and like the clothes, and they were healthy and like getting tattoos and like buying new shoes, like, but they were doing it too. Yeah, it was Jared and Kiana. Yeah, they were doing it, and there were some other people too, but I wanted to be able to do that.
No, isn't that what that's all about though? Really, is you see somebody at a meeting and you want what they have, and if God's willing, you have the strength to make it all happen. It's a hard thing to do. So what have you been doing after you got clean?
I've just been investing in myself really this whole
As
last
far as
6
the
years.
community and stuff like that.
Well, we started a NA. I took over an NA meeting before COVID happened, and you know, after COVID happened, they kind of shut us down. But for the last almost 3 years, next month, we've been running an NA meeting in town Monday nights at 5 or at 6, and like a lot of the people that come there are newcomers, which is great. It's fantastic. Like they're a lot of treatment people, and I love being able to like just share my growth with them. And like it's important for me too, because life is so good now. Like sometimes I forget how bad and shitty it was, and when they come and share, it helps me.
Yeah, it reminds you where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been involved in anything else other than running that?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Okay. Have you been involved in anything else, like community-wise, sobriety community-wise? I know there's other stuff that you kind of been into.
Oh, well, when I first got out of Lake Place, there was the sober squad that was around the community, and it was such a tight-knit group. There was like parades and walks, and like we just did stuff together. So I was really involved in that. You know, there hasn't been a lot of that lately, but you know, I've been trying to go to the NA events that they have in Chisholm. They have like volleyball and just anything to do with fellowship, picnics, like whatever there is, I'd like to check it out.
Were you and Ty involved? Was it a sober house, sober living? Was there something going on with that?
No, Tyler really, like, if we had the means, I think that would be something we would do. He had talked to somebody about, you know, how they kind of started their sober house, and that was something that he really was like kind of getting passionate about, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that right now.
Oh. Well, maybe you guys can hook up with Jessica and get in on that.
Is that what she's working on?
Yeah. In her interview, she was talking about how she had just bought like a 7-bedroom house.
Yes.
Yeah, and that she wants to convert it into sober living. So maybe that, I mean, even if it's not your guys' house, maybe you guys do rounds there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's always an idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I have 5%.
I can see you.
I'm sorry. This was such poor timing for.
That's okay. I was all over the place without you, just so you know.
It's okay. I'm all over the place even when I'm here. So, what do you? Did you talk about your school at all?
No, but I can.
Yeah, talk about the positive things that have happened in your life since you got sober. I mean, even your relationship, you just got married. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that's something I never thought I would do, but you know, I just kind of keep setting goals for myself. In school, one of my friends was like going to school when I first kind of was out in the community, and he asked me for rides, so I'd bring him like, maybe I could go back to school. And that's kind of how it started. I always wanted to be a nurse. My grandma was a nurse. And out of high school, I did try to go to college, but I failed. I flunked out, you know, and I started taking classes. You know, I just started doing like the prereqs for the nursing. I did a couple at a time while I was still working. And, you know, I started doing really well at them. And that was kind of surprising. And, you know, in 2021, I had applied for the nursing program, and they're like, yeah, sure. Like,
That's just my friend Rocky. She's another lady that streams with us. I asked her to help me in case my phone died again. So
okay. So, in 2021, I was supposed to do the nursing program, and, everything was a go until about a week before. And the nursing director was like, I'm sorry, you can't do the program because of your background, because you have to be able to do clinical hours in the hospital, and Grand Itasca and Deer River wouldn't allow me to do it. So it was kind of a bummer because I had all my eggs in that basket. Like, this is what I was going to do. And I was just devastated. So, after the shock of that, I was like, okay, I'll just do the prereqs for the RN, for the registered nurse. Because, that was the end goal anyways. And, I ended up not doing it, and I was busy doing other things. And then last year, my neighbor's daughter was going to go into the nursing program. I was like, oh, I've done all the prereqs. If you need help, be happy to help you. And I was just like, I kind of was praying on, what I should do next in my life. I was unhappy with my job, and I knew that going to school was an option, but I just, on a whim, I had emailed the nursing director, and I was like, hey, has anything changed? Can I do the program yet? And she's like, let me see what I can do. And a week later, she's like, if you're on board, you can start this fall. And I was like, all right. So I rearranged my whole schedule and started school. And Tyler, thank God for him, he has really taken on the financial burden of me not working and just focusing on school. But I just graduated in May with my LPN, and at the top of my class, that was just mind blowing that I could do that. But, I'm supposed to start the RN program here this fall. So tomorrow I have orientation, but my license for my LPN is still in limbo. I met with the board of nursing, and because of my background, they want to make sure the public is safe for me to take care of them. So I understand, but they want me to work with this other entity, to ensure the public is safe. And after I follow their recommendations and then they'll approve it, which is, I get it. It's kind of frustrating. It's not the answer I wanted. I just assumed they would say yes, because I've done all these great things, but
well, I mean, I'm sure they take those things into account, how long you stay out of trouble, how, what you've been doing since. And,
absolutely.
You've had another really big miracle in your life too. I feel like being able to be in contact with your kids again. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yes, I would. So like I said, I had to sign my rights over to my children in 2015. I have 3 of them, and they went with a family, not my family. They went with a family in Duluth, and they had been with them for probably a year when I had made that decision. So it wasn't too much of a shock. We made this agreement that we'll have this custody arrangement. I'll get them every other weekend, special occasions, yada, yada. And, like I said, I fell off the face of the earth. And then I think 2 years into my recovery, I had made a fake Facebook account because I was blocked on theirs, on the parents. And I was just like, this is Sarah. I'm 2 years sober. I'm not trying to, I just want some updates on what kind of people they're turning out to be, and, pictures if that's possible. And, I just left it at that. And I put my phone number on there. And last year on my daughter's birthday, I got a text message, and it was like, hey, is this Sarah? This is so-and-so. And I was like, with the kids, she said yes. And we started communicating, just me and the mother. We slowly started, chit-chatting back and forth, and giving me pictures and updates. And she's like, well, Olivia, my daughter, she'd like to talk to you. I'm like, well, I would love to talk to her too. And we talked on the phone for about an hour. And, ever since, it hasn't been like every day. I don't talk to her on the phone. I don't have communication with her, my daughter, yet. It's been with the family mostly. And she's going to be 17 tomorrow. And, I get to send cards. And so my daughter's going to be 17 tomorrow. My middle son is going to be 16 on the 2nd. And then I have my second son is going to be 14 in May. So they're old enough. And, like last year I got to have dinner with my daughter first, and I got to go see her basketball game. So it's been 10 years pretty much since I saw them. And, the whole time I was just like, they're going to, they're going to hate me. This is really the real thoughts. Like, they're going to hate me. They're not going to forgive me. How could they this whole time? But they never forgot about me. Like, they still talked about me. Even the parents, like when the kids would ask it, like they know they're adopted. They know that that's not their real parents. And I just assumed the worst. And it was the complete opposite. Like, when I had dinner with my daughter, she like was so close to me. Like, we're looking at pictures, and like I gave her somehow, by the grace of God, I was able to hold on to all 3 of their baby books. And they weren't all like filled out, but like I was homeless forever. I don't know how I kept those, but I was able to give them to her. And then a couple months later, we had dinner with all of them, with all 3 of the kids. And like, we have pictures and we're laughing. And I just remember saying, I love you. And they said, I love you too. Like, I'm hoping, for like maybe an adult relationship with my daughter. I feel like in my heart, and I didn't want to believe it, but I know she's going to reach out to me when she's old enough. Like, she's 17, going to be 17. And I know the parents are very protective, and I understand that. I know my day will come. I know it will.
She's tall, man. She's taller than you.
She's 6'2". And she plays basketball, and she's really good. Like, and my sons, they're tall too, for sure. Their dad was like 6'5". So, and I'm tall too.
Yes, you are. I'm pretty sure you're taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
What are you, like 5'10"?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think those are all pretty positive things.
Yeah.
You think, looking back a lot of the time, you think that it's not such a big thing because there's such a stigma behind addiction. So you're just like, a lot of the time, especially in the beginning, you're sitting in this shame, like, oh, nobody's ever going to like me again or love me, or they're not going to trust me, they're not going to this, they're not going to that. But then as the years go by, you realize, well, the people that matter anyway have seen those changes in you, and they start to treat you different. And some of that stuff starts, to fade away.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true for you in your sobriety? Do you feel like some of it's faded away, or?
I feel like a lot of that shame and guilt is gone. Like, it is what it is today. And, like, the things I struggle with are like my self-image and my body image. It's like, not a lot of the past stuff really bothers me anymore. Like, that, because that's not who I am. Like, I did a lot of bad things and whatever, but like, it's night and day today. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, good. Gosh, I'm gonna have to go back and watch what you said in the beginning after everything got all screwed up with my phone and whatnot. But
it was a little rough. I feel like I spent too much time in the past talking about stuff. You know, it's just.
It's okay though. It's your story. You tell it
Right.
how you want to.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, I was kind of like, I don't want people to tell the bad parts. I don't want them to stay stuck in the past and rehash every
Yeah.
arrest and stuff like that. But you know what? Like, that's a part of the story, and sometimes other people need to hear those parts
Mm-hmm.
in order to see, you know, when you get to the end and look at you now.
Right.
You know, you're going to school, you're doing better, you're getting to see your kids, you're still sober, you got married. I mean, that's a fuck of a lot, and none of that would have happened if you weren't walking your talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But I'm glad you came. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll have you back if there's any other big developments like a sober house or anything like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. You can hop off here if you want to. I'm just gonna close things up.
All right.
That's all I'm gonna do. All right. Thank you, Sarah. You have a good night. Well, sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning, guys. That is another shining example of, you know, what it looks like when you're actually doing what you say you're going to do, when you set your mind to that being clean and sober, and you stay clean and sober, and you keep doing all the things that you need to do in order to stay clean and sober. And it, you know what, it doesn't even really have to do with being on drugs or alcohol. I mean, there can be so many other things. Overeating, gambling, freaking porn. You can be addicted to just about anything. But like when you set your mind to something and you decide that's what I'm gonna fucking do, and you do it, well, I don't know. It's pretty good in my book. All these people that I've brought on here so far are examples of the kind of people that I seen in the rooms when I was getting clean and sober. That's the kind of person I wanted to be. And you know, I think I'm doing it. It might not be the way that everybody else wants me to or thinks that I should be and do and whatever, but fuck everybody else. It's my life, not theirs. Just remember, you can do anything you put your mind to. It's mind over matter completely. Don't listen to what anybody else says. Tell them to fuck off. Anyway, I think I am done for the night, so I will play my outro, and everybody have a good one. I will see you next Tuesday.
Maybe the next step in your healing journey is to go around calling people fucking cunts. That is all for today's therapy session. I'll see you next Tuesday.